Then and now. That is what I have entitled this video for the Bitcoin price. As what I'm going to do is compare, well, just as I've stated, then, as in everything that happened in here and everything that's going on right now. And in looking such, does it look similar? Now, you can only do view such on a log scale. For without log, well, nothing happened back then, but no, things really did happen upon such. But I'm going to go a little more further within this, dive a little bit deeper, and put my spreadsheet together. I've got the data already from the Bitstamp exchange. So then I decided to crunch some very easy numbers together, draw up a chart. So then let's take a look at it. And we see a black uncompleted or unfinished line and a red one. You probably should have some idea, or even some people, all ideas of what all of the scale numbers mean. And what it is the scale on the bottom, numbers 10 through 190 is the timeline. Those are the number of weeks. The percentage, that is the percentage it has held, the highs, or it is price divided by what the high was. So black is the current one. That's the 20,000 high, or near such. And the red one is the high near around 1200, as that was what its high happened to be. I went 10 weeks before the event of the high. In each case, I took the current price again divided by the high. I took as many periods or weeks that was needed until it technically was able to close above its all-time highs. And when I see a number in around 190 there, and it started at 10, well, that's over 3 years. That's 180 weeks it took to go from the high to the point when it was able to break the high. Now let's talk about next this high. And the one that I'm going to be referencing towards, I'm just going to get the right colors and scent so it works well. This here. A number significantly lower than 90%. In both cases. Well, it meant that on the close at that time, it was down that much from its intra week high. Both times. In both cases, in the 10 weeks prior, and probably even a bit more, but definitely a bit more, but the 10 weeks prior anyway, showing on the chart, a phenomenal move back in the 2013 area, much more phenomenal. But don't take anything away from the play where the market in Bitcoin was able to go from a few thousand to 20,000 spectacularly. Amongst the corrections, Bitcoin currently had a much harsher initial crash or fall, as it was able to lose more than half its value relatively fast, whereas the close in here, not so much the case. It even had this very beautiful, this is the failed rally that it had back in, 2013, the first time, 2014. But how we see these correlations in here is, to me, outstanding. Now, this is what I really was wishing we would have had last time that we didn't. This is when Bitcoin was just doing nothing for 6,000. Yeah, it had this little bit of a move in here, but this was a much better move that the market had had. Both cases had the markets fall towards these levels. Both cases had support break at around 70% losses, or the 0.3 number. And as we were moving into where we are now, it's just very, very, very interesting, I must say. Now, it's changed it a little bit for this most recent run it's had. Is a little bit different than where we're standing or where we were back then. And if it repeats like it did before, I think it would be phenomenal. I mean, if it could just rhyme this all the way through, I would so love that. I would prefer, personally, a slow move back to 20,000. And thus rhyming what it did before would be, oh my goodness, essential. I guess ideally, what would be nice, but you know what, the market does what it does. And when I try to do these things, you're parlaying things together, you're like never right. But all I'm trying to say is if it rhymes this in any form, wow. So let's just assume that Bitcoin has a little bit of its small retracement because oftentimes these bear markets can just take some time to heal. But let's assume there's a 6,000 hit for Bitcoin, but it comes back and does a lot of this type of. I wish it wouldn't do that. I have to remove everything. Okay, let's just do something like. Okay, something like that, and then just maybe go into just a rampage, just annoying sideways move. But then have a big one like that, maybe. And then have its little pullback. And then just like that or whatever. If it could do anything like that and take, what's it, 190 minus, like, where are we at now, like 82, and do a little over 100 days to do it, okay, that would be fine. That would be 100 weeks, excuse me, 100 days. Well, I mean, that's just crazy. I think I'd rather prefer 100 weeks than 100 days. Either way. Uh, then that would be 2 years, take us into 2021, and then things get really interesting in the rest of the 21-22 period, and down it goes again. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's all going to completely rhyme and reason like that, because a lot of times it doesn't, but thus far, it kind of has done so. And yeah, I think it's really interesting. I'll keep an eye on this moving forward. And just because this one back then did a tremendous job in holding this point 0.2 number or 20% doesn't necessarily mean that this one will as well. And in the realm of things, to me, it's an if else scenario, and it's all long term on the situation for such. Is Bitcoin going to make it or not? And long term, I mean, we're not talking 20 years long term. We're talking 4 years long term, 3 years. Because either the move that we have just had to 20,000 is going to be as similar to how it was to 1,200 back then, or it's going to be the bubble mania high. And the bubble mania high will mean that this level gets broken to the downside, and so be it. And of course, as being esque like it was before, yeah, maybe there's another leg and it doesn't rhyme completely. Whereas well, I showed a way where it totally rhymed, and let's just show a way where it doesn't. But it's still just more. I guess it have to be more volatile for this to happen because at this stage, this is where volatility was really becoming small. All of this in here, even though this looks big, when you look at this log back then, it was small. And this is not a logarithmic scaling either, nor is it really needed. I looked at the log scale. I like this one better. But let's just assume you get like a really bad scenario that happens like this, and well, Bitcoin goes to like 1,000, And then maybe it just does something different else, like it just pops up like this, and then it does like this again. And then it even beats its time after going lower. And I guess it kind of would rhyme here. But I'm not looking as in it going to nothing. And in the sense, like, let me just rephrase that. If it's going to go to nothing, is it on this, from this move, from this high? Meaning, if this is able to get to 60, 80, 100,000, and then it goes to nothing after that, Bitcoin is a tremendous investment right now. If Bitcoin, over the next, say, couple of years, does something like this, it's a tremendous investment. Because how many markets have ever ranged like that for 2 years? I mean, just going to buy low, sell high. The altcoins are going to hopefully do their things progressively because that's what it would come down to. And at any given time, I mean, it could just be this. And then it's just a new high. So let's look back at this because this looks like it's very wild and aggressive. Well, it's not. One, the move in here was literally like, let me just remove these lines. I think the easiest way for me to do it would be to go like this and then just bring that back. And we can see in here how this went straight up in like a short period of time. This took longer, had its up and down moves on the retracement. Let's go back to TradingView's charts. And when we look at this move, all these gray straight green candles up in the bull market, straight move up here. But what we notice this, there's a sideways move of what rate of ascent? Well, lower than this rate of ascent. So what happened back then, and what I'll do now is I will push the print screen button on my computer. I'm just going to get look at it. Let's look at it this way. So I'm going to push that now, and I'm going to paste this image into Paint. And I'm doing so at 10:07 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay, let's get the nice little fun little line involved. Make sure it's the right size, which it is. So what happened was the price action from this high managed to establish this level of resistance. And as we showed before, how, well, it never, like this was 80% because of that little bit of a pullback. That's why that's where the 20% loss was in the sense. But you had this level of resistance that it kept tangling with. One of the things I like to do in here, just because I like to do it, is you put a matching support line here, but I'll remove it. It didn't remove. I pushed the Control Z button. It didn't remove. There it is. It's removed. So on that point, what happened was the rate of ascent during this run was somewhere in the area of this, which of course is much greater than that. Because if it had that rate of ascent, say from here, even from this low, then it would have managed to get up to, yeah, what was that, like 3,500 to 4,000 in early 2016. That would have been the exact same similar move from the breakout. And that's, of course, when things got really indulging and spectacular overall. And now in here, let me just bring up it, since we're on trend lines, and I don't do this too often on here. This trend line, of course, was taken out a long time ago. Then you could say this one, it was supported. This little area in here, it's been taken out. So now I'm just going to adjust it to here. And then I'm just going to have to keep on adjusting it as long as the highs. Now, if I would have done that last time, This little resistance got taken out. As you can see, it was supported. And then you had entanglement with this little level here. A few times it was taken out. And then this level of resistance was next. It got taken out. This level was there after that. And then in time it got taken out. And then you just started talking about the horizontal line and breaking the level. And then, of course, at that exact same point, as we can see in here, it broke the same together, and the moves just came up at this rate of ascent, this rate of ascent, and then this rate of ascent. Just phenomenal place. All right, thank you for tuning in, and I hope this was helpful. I enjoy doing this because, and I'll bring that chart back up again. But it does show a very, very similar picture to the way it was back then. Have yourself a magnificent day. Bye bye.